Here's a question that sounds simple but isn't. If you work hard, save your money, and get good grades, why doesn't that guarantee you'll be rich? That question sat at the center of one of the best-selling personal finance books of all time, Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Over 32 million copies sold, translated into over 50 languages. And more than 25 years after it came out, people are still arguing about it. Today, we're breaking down what the book actually says, why it hits such a nerve, and, because we should be honest with you, where it falls short. Let's get into it. So here's the premise. Kiyosaki grew up with two father figures. His actual father, his poor dad, was highly educated, a PhD, a respected government official in Hawaii's education system. Smart, hardworking, and always broke, living paycheck to paycheck despite the good salary. Then there was his best friend's father, his rich dad, a man with no college degree and a local businessman who ended up becoming one of the wealthiest men in Hawaii. Same environment, same era, completely different relationships with money. And Kiyosaki spent his childhood absorbing lessons from both of them, which is really the engine of the entire book. It's not a textbook. It's a story told in parables about two philosophies colliding inside one kid's head. Now, quick honest aside, because we'll come back to this later, there's real debate about whether Rich Dad was a literal person or a composite character Kiyosaki created to teach the lesson. Kiyosaki has always maintained he was real. Others have questioned it. We'll unpack that a bit more toward the end. But for now, let's focus on the actual ideas, because whether or not Rich Dad walked the earth, the philosophy is what people actually took away from this book. Here's the single idea that this entire book hangs on. And once you hear it, you can't unhear it. Kiyosaki says most people don't actually know the difference between an asset and a liability. Not the textbook definition, the practical one. His definition: an asset puts money in your pocket. A liability takes money out of your pocket. That's it. That's the whole test. Now here's where it gets spicy. By that definition, your house might be a liability, because you're paying a mortgage, property tax, insurance, and upkeep, money flowing out every single month. Meanwhile, a rental property that generates monthly income, a stake in a business, dividend-paying stocks, those are assets because money flows in. Kiyosaki's argument is that the poor and the middle class spend their lives buying liabilities and calling them assets. A nicer car, a bigger house, things that look like wealth but quietly drain your bank account every month. The rich, on the other hand, spend their money buying things that pay them. Then, later, they use that income to buy the luxuries, the house, the car, with cash flow instead of a paycheck. It's a deceptively simple mental model. And that's honestly the genius of the book. It's not about complicated formulas or spreadsheets. It's a lens. Once you start asking, is this an asset or a liability, about every purchase you make, you start seeing your entire financial life differently. The second big pillar of the book is Kiyosaki's take on education. His poor dad valued traditional schooling. Get good grades, get a good job, climb the ladder. His rich dad thought that was a trap. Kiyosaki's argument is blunt. Schools train you to be a good employee, not a wealthy person. You learn history, algebra, literature, genuinely useful things. But almost nobody teaches you how money actually works, how taxes function, how debt can be used as a tool instead of a trap, how businesses and investments actually generate income. And honestly, this is the part of the book that resonates with almost everyone, regardless of what you think of Kiyosaki personally. Most of us can relate to graduating without a clue how to file taxes, build credit, or think about investing. That gap is real. Kiyosaki just gave it a name and a story to go with it. He calls this pursuit of financial knowledge financial literacy, and argues it matters more than your degree, your job title, or even how much you earn. Because, and this is a quote worth sitting with, it's not about how much money you make, it's about how much money you keep and how hard that money works for you. This brings us to maybe the most famous concept from the book, the rat race. Kiyosaki describes it like this. You get a job, you earn a paycheck, and that paycheck goes straight to bills, rent, taxes, and debt payments. So you ask for a raise or take a second job. But your expenses grow right along with your income. New house, new car, new lifestyle. So you're still stuck, working harder, but never getting further ahead. He argues the way out isn't working harder inside the system. It's stepping outside it entirely by building or acquiring assets that generate passive income until that income eventually covers your expenses without you having to trade your time for it. That's his definition of financial freedom, by the way. Not a number in your bank account. The point where your assets pay for your lifestyle and your job becomes optional. It's a genuinely powerful reframe. For a lot of readers, this is the moment the book clicks, the realization that a bigger salary isn't automatically the answer. Now, we promised you honesty, so let's talk about where this book gets criticized, and it gets criticized a lot. First, it's long on mindset, short on mechanics. Kiyosaki will tell you assets are good and liabilities are bad, but he doesn't walk you through how to actually evaluate a real estate deal, read a stock's fundamentals, or structure a business. Critics, including plenty of financial professionals, point out that the book sells a philosophy, not a plan. Second, some of his specific financial claims have been challenged over the years, particularly around debt and taxes. Kiyosaki is a big proponent of using leverage, other people's money, to build wealth. That can absolutely work. It can also wipe you out if you don't actually understand risk, which circles back to criticism number 1. Third, and we mentioned this earlier, there's real skepticism about whether Rich Dad existed at all. No one has ever been able to independently verify him. Kiyosaki has never named him publicly, citing a promise to the family. Some readers find that irrelevant, since the lessons stand on their own. Others feel it undermines the credibility of a book built entirely on personal narrative. None of this means the book is worthless. It means it's best read as a mindset primer, not a manual. Think of it as the book that gets you asking the right questions, and then you go find other resources for the actual how-to. So, zooming out, what's the actual message of Rich Dad, Poor Dad? It's this. Your financial future isn't primarily decided by how much you earn. It's decided by what you understand about money and what you choose to do with what you have. Buy things that pay you before you buy things that just look impressive. Treat financial education as seriously as any other subject you were taught in school, because nobody's going to hand it to you. And measure freedom not in salary, but in the gap between your income and your need to work at all. Whether or not you agree with every specific claim in the book, and there's plenty of room to disagree, that underlying shift in thinking is genuinely the reason this book has stuck around for over 25 years. It doesn't teach you how to get rich. It teaches you how to start thinking like someone who could. So, have you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad? Did it change how you think about money, or did you find yourself pushing back on it? Let me know in the comments. I read every single one. If you want more breakdowns like this, where we actually dig into the ideas and the criticism, instead of just hyping a book up, hit subscribe. There's more where this came from. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.